Cara Potter from the Defiance County System of Libraries.
Thank you. So I prepared some information about Johnson Memorial Library because I thought that would be of most interest to everybody. So the Johnson Memorial Library is actually a branch of the Defiance Public Library System. So in the county, the first library in the county was the Defiance Public Library. And during the Great Depression, the state legislature was concerned because a lot of municipalities were selling their Carnegie libraries and the contents to raise funds to meet the city's needs. So because of this, the state legislature passed a law providing funding for public libraries in Ohio. And they also passed, part of the legislation was also that the trustees had ownership of the library and the library building, and the grounds underneath it and the contents. So in the branch system, we don't necessarily own all of our libraries. The Johnson Memorial Library has actually released that. So the Johnson Memorial Library Friends own the building, and the library system leases it, and we provide all the services that are in the building. Let's see. So there was the first branch library in Hicksville started in 1939, and it was in the basement of the school. I don't know where the school was in 1939, but it had a basement room in the school for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, the village received a gift from Karma Johnson Rowe, or maybe the Friends probably did, or the foundation received a gift from Karma Johnson Rowe, and they used those funds to build the Johnson Memorial Library building. So the current library, Johnson Memorial Library, opened in 1953. So we've been leasing it, and we leased the church room before that to provide branch services in Hicksville. Let's see. So the Defiance Public Library covers all the operating and personnel costs for Johnson Memorial. So to give you a ballpark idea of what that is, in 2021 it was approximately $750,000. So we fund that. I expect it to go up this year once we do the final numbers, and next year because we're implementing a pay increase plan for the staff because the staff was so underpaid. And I'd also promoted 2 staff members at Johnson Memorial, so they were getting more pay, and were able to do more things in the library. We have a union, so the union really restricts what staff can and can't do. And so the promotion enabled the library associates at Johnson Memorial, who are Carly Harris and Amber Tedley, can now do programming and a lot of other activities for the library. So the library system has 2 income streams. About 2/3 of our money comes from a state fund called the Public Library Fund, which is 1.7% of the statewide sales tax. So that 1.7% goes to the Ohio State Library, and then they divvy it up between the 88 counties in the state. I don't know what formula they use, so I don't know exactly how they do that. So about 1/3 of it comes from the Public Library Fund, and the other 1/3 comes from a levy that we've had, a countywide levy. So we've had this levy since 2007. Originally it was implemented because we were going into a recession then, and it was to meet the shortfall between the library's needs and what the Public Library Fund provided, because the Public Library Fund is really dependent on the economy. So when the economy is good, we get extra money. When the economy is bad, it goes down. So the original levy was passed because the Public Library Fund had gone down for Defiance. And since then, it's been renewed. So we've had that same levy, which is 0.75 mil, for the past 15 years, and it's going to be up again this November to renew it for another 5 years. And let's see. So I have some dates here too that I thought you might think were interesting. So the founding of the library in Hicksville was 1938, and your building opened in 1953. Sherwood was founded in 1939 and opened a building in 1940. We also leased the Sherwood building. And then the Defiance Library opened in 1895, and it opened its building in 1905. So, little fast facts. I put on your table our annual report, and the reason I did this is there's a section in it about the Johnson Memorial Library. So this is the first time Defiance Public Library System has done an annual report that I'm aware of, and I did it the way I've done it in other jobs that I've had, where I let the staff and branch managers write the report. So if you look through it, you'll notice it's not all in the same voice. There's some variety in there. So there's the Johnson Memorial. Oh, the pages aren't numbered, but the Johnson Memorial is right here next to Sherwood. And I anticipate it also has a financial overview and statistics for the system. And who's on the board of trustees. We always try to have at least one person from Hicksville on the board. Currently that's Susan Mack. And I also have fact sheets about the levy. I think I put a couple of them on the tables, and I'll leave some over on the other table. And then I wasn't aware that Susan had arranged for somebody else to speak, so I kind of over-prepared this morning and brought things about the Historical Society. So do you want me to do that now, or you want to take over?
Oh, no.
I should go ahead and do that.
Yours, please.
Okay. So I'm just going to go to the back table and grab, well, actually I won't do that because they're hard to see from a distance. So as library director, I'm involved with the Hicksville Historical Society, and that involvement came about because I was interested in the collections there, and I knew it was a struggling board. And in Defiance, we have a partnership with the local Historical Society, which is the Tuttle Museum. And I was hoping to eventually have the same kind of relationship with the Hicksville Historical Society, which is we often do joint programming. When donations come in, if they're flat donations, they go to the library. If it's three-dimensional, they go to the Tuttle Museum. And then there's some objects that we're not really sure go which place or the other, and I generally let the Tuttle Museum staff make that decision. So anyhow, so I've been involved for a few months. On the board currently are Susan Mack, Jan Heffelfinger, and Colleen's last name, what? Richter, thank you. Colleen Richter, and myself. And there's a few other board members, but we don't always see them regularly. So I put in the back some items I just grabbed from the land office before I came here, just to give you an idea of what's in there. When I got involved, it was literally a room packed full of boxes. And that was probably about, I don't know, less than a year ago. And since then, Colleen primarily has cleaned everything up. It looks great now, but we still need to have work done on the building and getting the collection organized by a professional, not by, because I don't have time, and the board doesn't have the knowledge to do it. So the goal for the Historical Society currently is to have regular meetings and to have regular hours. We can't get grant funds for the Historical Society until they show that they're a functioning organization. So we need to meet those two minimum standards. So in closing about the Historical Society, I brought in some brochures. They're back there if anybody wants to join. When you open it up, you'll notice that there's no dollar amount that you have to pay to join. We're leaving that up to individuals. So on the joining form it says donation. So it can be zero, it can be whatever you want. But we're looking for members. The reason we're doing this is that I did the same thing with the Defiance Friends of the Library, who were going through the same thing the Historical Society is now. They were having those issues about 2 years ago, and they did this change from charging a fee to a donation, and what they experienced was that they actually received more funds than they would have if they'd asked for a $5 or $10 donation for membership. So it's blank, and there's copies of it over there. And the Historical Society is also responsible for the maintenance of the little chapel that's across the street. So the chapel itself is owned by the Episcopal Diocese, so they own the building and the little sliver of ground that it's on. I've contacted the diocese to find out if they would ever sell it, and it was donated by Mr. Edgerton in perpetuity. So to sell it to us, they would have to go to court and change, have a lawyer change stuff. I'm not sure what the formal word is for that, but they would change the terms of the will, I guess, to allow the church to sell it. So I'm trying to help that work. I grew up Episcopalian, so I know all about the quirks of that church. So I've been in touch. He's called the Canon of the Ordinary, and he's the person who's responsible for all the building maintenance for Episcopal churches throughout the state. So I'm still trying to get some more information from him, but at this point we're kind of at a standstill. But we will continue.
Karen, do you know what year this was?
I think it's on the front.
Just got the date.
Oh, it just has the date? No, I just grabbed some things I thought people would think were interesting, and I was hoping.
It was August 19th, but we don't know what year.
Yeah, and this is part of the problem that we're having at the Historical Society is a lot of people donated items like signs, family photos, things like that, and we have no idea what the year is, who the people are in the photo. So it's really difficult. We're setting up a system that we use now at the library and at the Tuttle Museum. There's an acquisition form, so when a donation comes in, you fill out the form, signing over the objects to the Historical Society, and then giving the details. Like this would have been, there probably would have been a date on the form if we had one when this was donated. So probably at some point we will be asking for help. I did the Johnson Memorial Library Friends purchased a scanner that of the quality that's needed to scan photos from the Historical Society and upload them to Ohio Memory Project and then Digital Public Library of America. But we have not yet gotten started on that project. It's partially a staff issue on my end with the library, and I think it's a time issue with the volunteers at the Historical Society. So I'm working with Defiance College right now to see if I can get a student intern out to help with that. But I don't think it'll be this calendar year, this school year for them. So does anybody have any other questions? No? Okay. I'm going to go grab, I'll go grab the other two things just so I can tell you a little bit about them.
Okay.
How many hours would the Historical Society need to be open every week? How would that be?
It could just be a half day.
One and a half day a week?
Yes, it would just have to be a regular. Because that's.
I'm good at writing grants, and every grant I've looked at, there's a lot of money out there for historical buildings and restoring historical buildings. But you have to, the minimum requirements are you have to be a functioning organization. So you have to have a membership, you have to have regular hours, and you have to put on programs. So that's what we're working on right now. I just set up a very primitive website and Facebook page for them. But I don't have the time to maintain those things, and I don't have the knowledge to create the content. So I need to find somebody probably younger than me to maintain the Facebook page and the website. I hadn't created a Facebook page in like 15 years, and I went in to do it, and it's completely different and much more complicated. Yeah, so anyhow, so what I brought over, Shannon, you want to hold that one up? Oh, so this is the county fair sign. I just found this behind a door in the Historical Society when I went over this morning before our meeting here. And they've got all kinds of signs like this. Some of them from the theater, some of them from the fair. Most of them I think are for the fair. And then I brought over a picture of the football team. Again, the date is illegible, but if you're interested in looking at it, it looks to me, well, they have soft football helmets. So I don't know what time period that was, but they're right here. And the people's name, the players' first names are written over them. And then Hicksville School Drum and Bugle Corps, which I think looks like it's from the late 40s, early 50s. Again, no date. So I will, so I'll put these things over on the table if you want to look at them again. And if you have any interest in participating, it doesn't have to be like you would show up all the time. I'm dividing things into little projects. So like Jim Battershell helped us organize all the yearbooks because we were missing some yearbooks, and then we had like 15 copies of others. So he helped us get that all under control. So we have little projects like that. If anybody has any interest, they could talk to me, Colleen, or Susan Mack. Okay. You got 10 minutes.
We found out that Eric Googled that lady that was coming to the fair on August 19th.
Yeah?
In 1938.
Really?
Could be.
Yeah, she started the Broadway version of Hells of Hoppin' ran from 38 to 41. They made a movie that didn't star her in 41. So that probably would be after the Broadway run. So I would guess that would be mid 40s or early 50s, somewhere between 43 and 53 maybe. I don't know how long she toured.
So you have lots of knowledge about these things. I may be talking to you. Yeah, if anybody else has any sort of input or wants to look at photographs to see if you can identify the year or the people in them, that would be a huge help. Because the Historical Society is or the land office is tiny and it's very crowded, what we've been doing is taking items over to the community room in the library and looking at them there and then bringing them back to the land office. We had an open house on Saturday at the land office, so there were some people through, but it is a very tiny building, and there's a lot of stuff in there, so it just needs to be organized. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I will leave the forms and other objects on the table, so you can look at them on your way out, and I'll leave up fact sheets about the levy back there, too. Thank you very much for your time and attention.